That was a little taste of like a science fiction vibe, which is the vibe of this worship service today. So I would love to say aloha. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Honolulu, where we are boldly growing compassion, justice, and joy. What could be better? So whether you are here in person or online, I would like to extend a great welcome to you and let you know that we are really glad that you're here. If there are any visitors who are in our sanctuary today, would you like to raise your hand and introduce yourself? Hi, what's your name? Gabrielle. Okay, and you're Gabriella. Nice, thank you. Thanks for being here today. Anybody else want to say hello? Hi.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm Andrew's partner. If I didn't meet any of you last week.
Yay. Welcome. Thanks for being here, Megan and Andrew. Okay, awesome. We're delighted to have all you guys here sitting up front today. And you'll be here for the first hymn and the story for all ages, and then we'll have you go to some activities upstairs. My name is Crystal Neva, and my pronouns are she, her, and they. And I have the honor of being your worship associate today, along with our guest speaker, Andrew Laro. Woo! And Andrew, as you might have heard last week, he supports our church communications remotely. He helps keep our website going. And he's just completed both his MSW at Columbia University and his Master of Divinity at Union Theological Seminary. Woo-hoo! So we're super excited to have him here today, and I would like to present you with aloha from all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. All right. Woo-hoo! All right. Okay, so anything else? Am I forgetting anything? No? We're looking forward to your message on how science fiction can help us figure out how to get through everything that we're going through. So this morning, to get us into that spirit, we will light our chalice. Our chalice reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast, and our experience here is but a blip in the cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on this earth, that we live intently and deeply with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we have ever known. And now please join us in singing our hymn of the month, Morning Has Broken. You can rise if you'd like. It's an intro.
Morning Good morning and aloha. It is good to be back with you all this morning. For those who missed me last week, I was here with Reverend Deborah talking a bit about our communications work. But this Sunday, she just let me free to do whatever I wanted. So here we are. We're talking about sci-fi. Hope that's okay. So for anyone I didn't meet last week, and I met some of you last week, some of you helped me find the bathroom, so thank you for being very kind. Yes. Just kindness all around in every generation in this church, in this faith community, which is great. Kindness runs in the family. That's all we need to say. But this morning, I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite books of all time. It's called... The Monk and the Robot? It is. Well, it has a different name. Its official title is A Psalm for the Wild Built, and it's by Becky Chambers. But it has a nickname, and the book's nickname, or alternative title, is The Monk and the Robot book. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this book, if that's okay. Yeah? So this book starts in a bit of a sad place. It talks about how humans were so concerned with working and making things and buying things and selling things, and it became all they thought about, a very fictional story. And they didn't think about the plants or the animals or the water or even other people, just if they could work. And because they felt like they needed to work so hard, they made robots, and the robots helped them work. Makes sense, right? But guess what happens next? The monk comes later. The robots woke up. Uh-oh, they weren't just tools anymore. Suddenly, the robots realized they had thoughts of their own and feelings of their own and dreams of their own. And guess what? They didn't want to work anymore. They were programmed to work, but then eventually something happened and they became like self-aware, like humans. Like independent. Yeah, yep. So instead of working, the robots told the humans, hey guys, we don't want to work anymore. We want to put down our tools, live in the woods, and learn about all the plants and the animals. That's cool with you, right? Now, if you were a human and you were used to robots doing all of your work for you, what would you say to the robots? What would you say? Yeah, he's like, let's get some more robots. These ones aren't working. Yeah. I get it, yeah. They made a whole Terminator movie series about that. Go knock yourself out? You would let them go? Yeah? Who else? Who else would let the robots go? Right? It would be a little weird, right? Well, what I love about this book is the humans actually just respect the robots' wishes. And not only that, but when this happened, the humans went, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't be working so hard too. And so the humans let the robots live on one side of the world, and the humans stayed on the other side of the world. And instead of living in big cities and working in big factories, the humans lived in small villages built around trees and connected to nature. And instead of focusing on working, they focused just on being friends with one another, which sounds pretty cool, right? So that's how the book starts, but do you remember the name of the book? The Monk and the Robot book. And who was it that said the monk comes, right? Now we're going to get into the monk, okay? So the rest of the book is set hundreds of years later after what I just described, right? So the humans and the robots haven't seen each other for hundreds of years, if you can imagine it. And the book is about someone named Dex. And Dex is a monk, a tea monk, specifically, a tea monk. And so Dex's job, although they don't really have jobs, but how Dex spends their time is Dex wanders around to the different villages, and whenever someone's having a hard time, he listens to them, he gives them advice, gives them compassion, and then he makes them tea so that they feel better. Sounds like a great way to spend your time, right? But along the way, something unexpected happens, and Dex meets someone. Who do you think Dex met? A robot. Yes, Dex met a robot. And remember, this is the first time a human and a robot have met in hundreds of years. The robot's name, any guesses? The robot? No. Any guesses? You'll never guess it. The robot's name is Splendid Speckled Mosscap. Splendid Speckled Mosscap. And Dex learns that robots name themselves after the first thing they see when they wake up, right? So if they saw a goldfish, they would name themselves Goldfish. This robot saw a mushroom, a splendid speckled mosscap mushroom. And that's why it calls itself that. But then the robot said, hey, Dex, you can just call me Mosscap for short, because that's a lot. That's a lot, right? Yeah, what's your question? Say that again. No, they didn't do it because they didn't want to get sued. No, they just did it because it's a fun little, that's what the robots decided to do. That's how they named themselves. Oh, the author. No, that's just the detail the author made up. It's a fun little part of the story. Yeah. Yeah, so if the robot saw a lily pad, they would name themselves Lily Pad, or maybe Lily for short. So I'm going to keep telling the rest of the story. So the rest of the story talks about how Dex and Mosscat became friends, despite being a human and a robot, two very different things, right? So I do want to ask you all, if you were trying to become friends with a robot, what would you do? What would you do? A monk is like a title for a human. I see why you're confused. Yeah, yep. What would you do? How would you become friends with a robot? You would offer it help, right? And you would listen. I think the most important thing is to listen, right? That's wonderful. Don't we all need to learn to listen a bit more? Yeah. Yeah. And then you. Oh, that's a great idea. Teach her all the math so it's the smartest robot in the world. I love that. And last one right there. You would reprogram it? Oh, yeah. This robot in this made-up story is very smart, though. Yeah. So those are all great answers. So I know this story may seem a little silly, right? And it's supposed to be a little silly, but I think it's really important. It's important because in the real world, humans have a lot of trouble being kind to other people, don't we? Or being kind to other animals or other plants. And sometimes it's because we're too focused on working and working and working and working and working. And sometimes it's because it's hard for us to connect to those who are different from us, right? But the monk... Right. But the monk in the robot story shows us that it's possible to be kind, even to other people that are different, even to plants or animals, or yes, even robots, even when they're different from us. And that when we do that, we can make the world a better place by listening, right? And learning from one another. So can we all promise to be kind and to listen to one another and make the world just a little bit better? Awesome. Can we do it? I love it. May it be so. Now I invite you all to stand as you're able as we sing our children off to their activities. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. We could hear everything okay? You're very smart, no matter what. Amazing. I love doing the kids' stories so much. It's great. One of my favorite things when I was a kid was to play pretend. Play pretend. Every day at recess, my friends and I would imagine heroic and impossible scenarios in which we fought against dragons or aliens or vampires or dragon, alien, vampires. And despite our struggle, we would always save the world at the end of the day. And at night, I often had trouble sleeping because my brain was just alive thinking of all these new stories to tell and new battles to be won, new futures to unravel. And then when I got a little older, my dad introduced me to Star Wars and to Star Trek. Blew my mind. I can still remember that feeling of awe and wonder watching these stories of different people and aliens and robots working together to overthrow empires and to fight for a better future, explore new worlds, form new alliances, and to boldly go where no one has gone before. Fast forward to today, and while I still try to cultivate my childlike imagination, it's a lot more difficult these days. It's harder to play pretend when there's bills to pay, and deadlines to meet, and groceries to buy. And more than that, with how horrific the state of the world is, it's hard to imagine any brighter future. You know, they say that we lose part of our capacity to imagine as we become adults, but I don't think that has to be true. And I wonder if part of this is by design. Because if we're preoccupied with bills and money and work and healthcare and fear, then we can't imagine that any other reality is possible. And if we can't imagine another reality, then we're just going to become complacent with this one. And on the other hand, when I look at the rising power of fascism in our country and around the globe, I can't help but think fascism is just so boring. It's so boring. It's just an ideology centered around giving power to the state and blaming our problems on other oppressed groups and erasing difference. That's it. I'm not asking for this, but there's even more creative ways to oppress us. It's so lame and boring. Ugh. Where's the creativity? Where's the vibrance? Where's the joy? Where's the curiosity? So imagination, I think, is a threat to the boring ideology of fascism and authoritarianism. Imagination is a threat because just a little bit of imagination shows us just how different things could be. So I'd like to do something a little different today, and if you hate it, I'm going back to New York tomorrow. I'd like to invite you to imagine with me and invite you into a brief meditation, if that's okay. So I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. And picture a world where somehow all these problems have just melted away. Picture a world where there is no money, no predatory healthcare system, no borders, where everyone has exactly what they need, enough food, housing, medicine, where everyone works together with creativity to ensure all are cared for and all are safe, where the earth's resources are no longer exploited, and the plants and the animals and the waters and the air flourish alongside us. What kind of world is this? What do you imagine? What do you picture when I speak these words? And with your eyes still closed, if that's comfortable, I think it's important that we move beyond an intellectual understanding of our future and actually develop an embodied understanding of what this future could be like. Because if we can feel it in our bodies, we'll know it's worth fighting for. So I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to imagine this future, whatever images have come up for you as I've spoken those words, and imagine, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like on your skin? What does it feel like in your heart and in your gut? And now, if you can, what's one little thing you can do today to bring just one of those feelings into our present world? Even if it's small, even if it seems insignificant, What's one little tiny thing you can do to bring just a sliver of this future into our reality? And let that intention guide you. And you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. May it be so. May it be so. Thank you.
The following reading is from Octavia E. Butler's science fiction novel, The Parable of the Sower. This reading is from the tenets of a fictional religion, Earthseed, which teaches that change is the only lasting truth in the world and that humanity's destiny is to embrace the reality of change in order to survive. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. As wind, as water, as fire, as life, God is both creative and destructive, demanding and yielding, sculptor and clay. God is infinite potential. God is change. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change.
Now I invite you to stand if you're able. We're going to do a little song today. I know that our beloved friend Peg broke her hand. We all heard about it, I know. So we had to pivot with the music a little bit, and I said, oh man, I have just the thing. So this is going to be a little different, but this is a song I learned on a spiritual retreat over on the East Coast that I wanted to bring over here, and it's based on the words that Crystal just read for us. So it's a song, I'm going to sing it to you. There's no lyrics anywhere because I find that when you learn music by singing together, it just uses a different part of your brain. So I'm curious if that's true for you too. But it's very easy. It's 4 lines. I'm going to sing one line at a time, have you sing it back to me, and we're going to learn this song together, and then it just repeats. And the lyrics are what you, just the refrain you read at the beginning in the ed, right? So here we go. Line 1. I'll sing it, and then you sing it back. Ready? You have to be, because I got the mic, so. All that you touch, you change. All that you touch, you change. One more time. All that you touch, you change. Good, okay. You guys have got this, easy. Ready? All that you change, changes you. All that you change, changes you. All right, let's do 1 and 2 together. Ready? All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. One more time. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. Not bad. All right. Line 3, ready? The only lasting truth is change. The only lasting truth is change. Okay, let's do that again. The only lasting truth is change. From the top. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. All right, and that's the hardest part. The last line is super easy, but it's the most fun. It goes, God is change. And I can't really do it, but if you can put that twang at the end, change, right? Just jazz it up. Go, because God's change, so you can do whatever you want, and it's right. God is change. Yeah. Ready? Can we do it from the top? All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Hey! All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. One more time. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Amen. Thank you. Y'all crushed that. Y'all crushed that, right? May you remember that change is the consistent force that guides our world, and change is our destiny. So when we embrace change, we are stepping into perhaps what we have been called to. And now Crystal will do the book of life, and I get to take a little break.
Okay. This church is our place to experience the depth of life together, and this book represents that, the life that we share in our community, the joys and the concerns that we each have. And there's lots of ways to share. We share with each other informally all the time after church. We share with our minister. We share with our care team, and I will note the members of our care team. We have Nancy Schilt, Gabe Toyganko, and Jim Lopresti. I think there's another one. Martina. I don't know why she's not on my list. Anyway, we have a care team. We can share our joys, our concerns with them. We also have a website that has our joys, a section for joys and concerns, and you can read about people's lives there and share things there. Today, in our book, we have some joys and concerns. So we'll start with our concerns. I wrote this in, sorry, Peg. Peg broke her hand, in case you hadn't heard. And she isn't able to do all the things that she likes to do. She's a very busy, industrious person, and it is a distraction to not be able to do that. So anyway, it's an adventure. And then, let's see. Yanali and Charlie's last day here until Christmas break. Are they here? Oh, they're upstairs. Okay. Yeah, that's a concern. I guess they like being here. Right on. So those are our concerns. Let's see. Please pray for Bonita Bethards to keep healing from her left hand surgery. Oh, surgery. Whoa. Oh. Okay. Well, getting better, healing, right? Okay. That's a joy and a concern. So good. There's other concerns here, and I just invite you to think of ways that you can share your concerns to help you lighten your own load as you move forward through the week. We also have some joys. So our first joy is sent to us by Nan Kleiber. 30 years ago, on the 1st of August in 1996, Pierre and Donica and Eleanor and Nan arrived in Honolulu, and Nan became the religious educator for this church, supporting programs for children and youth and parents. And she's just noting, it seems so very long ago, 30 years. So, yay. Rick Pittaway has a new address, and he will be living in the rabbit warren of condos behind Target in Kailua. So right on, that's a joy. So yes, we like it. Okay, I think that's it for joys, but I know there's more joys in your heart. So think about ways that you can share your joys with others in the community to lift the spirits of those around you. The bitterness, the sweetness, the concerns and joys of life remind us to live these days together. The brave adventure and the holy understanding we share in this journey echo today, as they always do in the book of life and in the hearts that we each bring here today. May it always be so. And we're going to just move right along to sharing the plate. And we have the honor in our congregation that we can send a calabash around every week and share it with another organization that has goals and values that are in concert with our own. And this month we have been sharing our plate with the Pacific Gateway Center. whose steadfast purpose is to serve the disadvantaged, uprooted, and displaced. Since their founding in 1973, their story has been defined by the meaningful, effective ways that they empower Hawaii's low-income residents, immigrants, refugees, and other vulnerable populations in rebuilding their lives with hope, respect, and dignity. So Pacific Gateway is a partner affiliate of the United States Committee for Refugees and Immigrants and the Catholic Legal Immigration Network. So if you can share generously as the calabash comes around for Pacific Gateway. Thank you. Your gifts help this congregation both inside and outside of these walls. Thank you for your generosity.
All right. Imagine with me, if you will, a world in which humanity has been pushed to the brink of extinction. Every last remaining human lives in the ruins of one city. And at the opposite edge of the world sits the paintress, a malevolent, supernatural figure of unknown origin who every year paints a giant number in the stone, counting down from 100. The next year, 99. The next, 98. All the way down to today when the number reads 33. And each year, anyone over the age of the painted number dies. Meaning that anyone 33 and older, when the new number is painted, their bodies evaporate into dust. Each year, the number counts down, signaling more death, more ruin, more societal collapse, signaling the end. Humanity, of course, will not go so quickly into that good night. Every year, those who have 1 year of life remaining on the paintress's countdown rally together and embark on an expedition with one goal in mind: travel to the other side of the world, defeat the paintress, and end the countdown to humanity's extinction. They know that they will likely fail, but in their attempt, they lay the way for those who come after, leaving behind information, marking trails, and paving the way for future expeditioners to get just one step closer to humanity's victory. Their rallying cry in the wake of such an existential threat is tomorrow comes. Tomorrow comes. Even if not for them, but for the future generations who will build on the work they have done. This is the premise of the award-winning video game Expedition 33. And last year, when I was sitting on my couch, the giant TV in front of me playing this game, I became immediately swept up into the existential questions it was asking. Because the real world humanity is facing an extinction as well. Through the threats of our crumbling democracy, the rise of division and hatred, and our ongoing ecological devastation. The threat may not be as obvious as a literal countdown painted in the sky, but that does not make it any less real. And in the face of this threat, what was I doing with my time? What are we doing with our time? Why aren't we working together in a similar act of radical collectivism, knowing that every action of resistance we took along the way furthered our chances of survival, even if we did not see this survival for ourselves, even if we sacrificed ourselves along the way for those who come after? In many ways, this question feels somewhat similar to the premise of Octavia E. Butler's book, The Parable of the Sower, which we read from earlier. This book follows the young woman, Lauren, who lives in a gated community surrounded by a society crumbling from extreme poverty, corruption, and environmental destruction. As the years go by, she sees her community erode further and further from attacks and dwindling resources, and eventually makes the decision that she would like to survive. Despite everyone around her clinging to a system that is so obviously failing, Lauren flees and forms a new, wandering community that embraces the sacred necessity of empathy, trust, and change. To us, the reader, this decision is obvious. Brave, surely, but obvious. Lauren's town is falling apart and clearly won't last much longer, so why wouldn't you flee? Why wouldn't you embrace the reality and the necessity of change instead of clinging to the dying ways of an old world? But all too often, don't we make the same mistake? This, I think, is one of the most powerful contributions science fiction has to offer us. These stories, ranging from grounded to fantastical, have the power to reveal to us the hidden truths of the world. By presenting the threats humanity faces in more concrete terms within the logic of a narrative, we are able to see things in a way that perhaps we could not before. And if we allow them, these stories can inspire us to challenge our current models of being and forge a new way forward. Most people think of sci-fi as speculation on the future, but I argue that sci-fi is much more interested in our present. Author and literature professor Brian Willems defines sci-fi as an imagining of a true alternative to our present, a present that is mired in the human-created oppression of people, the environment, and all living beings. Similarly, author Professor David Seed describes science fiction as an embodied thought experiment whereby aspects of our familiar reality are transformed or suspended. Sci-fi captures our imagination not only by speculating about the future, but by making a statement about the present. It reveals what we are anxious about and what we hope our tomorrow may look like. Now, that's not to say, of course, that sci-fi isn't about the future as well. I think it's fascinating to consider how many different works of science fiction over the years have predicted elements of our present-day reality today. Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, for instance, speculated about a future in which humans could engage in long-term deep-sea travel, and today, that reality is possible. Another of his works, Around the World in 80 Days, presented what was at the time a fantastical journey around the world in an insurmountable amount of time. But today, many people have replicated that exact route, often completing it in less than 80 days. Star Trek, because I can't preach about sci-fi without talking about Star Trek, Star Trek featured long-distance communication devices that are not unlike the modern-day cell phones Reverend Deborah and I talked about last week. These are just a few of the examples of speculative fiction becoming true. So then what about the science fiction of today? Will those stories become true? While lots of sci-fi can be bleak, many others portray hopeful visions of our future, visions that I certainly hope will become true. Take, for instance, The Monk and the Robot book that we talked about earlier. This book tells the story about how humanity was caught in the thrall of capitalism and overconsumption and exploitation of the natural world. But then one day, their workforce, the robots, became sentient. And rather than a Terminator-style war between organic and inorganic life, the humans accept this. And they call into question their own model of being, re-examine their values and practices, and shift their society into a collectivist, even utopic culture where there's no money, only relationship, and where every action they take helps nature to flourish rather than simply living in balance with it. Relationship between humans and non-humans is a central theme of this book, as the main plot follows Dex, the so-called tea monk, who travels between towns offering tea and spiritual care to all who are in need. And along the way, as you know, Dex meets the robot, Moscap, the first time a human and a robot have interacted since the separation. And the two learn how to relate to each other in spite of their very different ways of being. Through their shared journey of relational knowing, the assumption of human exceptionalism is brought into question. One of my favorite scenes from this book is when Dex and Moscat discuss pronouns. Dex uses they, them pronouns, but that's actually not the issue here, surprisingly. Dex is horrified that Moscap wants to be referred to as an it. After all, Moscap says, it's a robot. It's a created artificial object. And Dex says, well, Moscap, I'd argue that you are more than just an object. And Moscap is slightly offended, saying, well, I would never call you just an animal, sibling Dex. We don't have to fall into the same category to be of equal value. And this, I think, challenges us as readers to re-examine our own ways of relating to non-human life. Moscap doesn't need to have human traits thrust upon it in order to be equally valued and cherished. Moscap is valued simply for being Moscap. And when we get to know it on a deeper level, that value shines as clear as the day. See, us humans have a real hard time connecting with any other being that isn't human-like. And not being able to see the inherent worth and dignity of every being around us is part of why the ecological disaster is as bad as it is. We've lost touch with the earth and how we are just one tiny part in the much larger web of all interrelated beings. What would it be like if we all collectively learned how to relate to a bird, not because of what the bird can do for us, but simply for what the bird is? What if we learned how to relate to a tree, not because it provides us with lumber or shade or even because it's beautiful to look at, but because we simply valued it for being a tree? What if we could find a way to build a connection to a spider and celebrated everything that makes the spider a spider? Oh, I might have lost some of you there. Trees, cool. Birds, absolutely. Oberon the peacock, for sure. I fed him this morning. He was great. But spiders? Nah. Yes, I confess that I, myself, am a recovering arachnophobe. Ever since I was little, I can remember how my mom would scream, and I mean literally scream like someone was actively trying to kill her whenever she saw a spider. And that meant that I wanted to scream, and I mean actually scream like someone was trying to kill me whenever I saw a spider. Over time, and as I became an adult, my nervous system started to settle down a bit whenever I saw one of our 8-legged friends. I won't lie, though, I still get the heebie-jeebies whenever I see one. But if you're like me, and you find it hard to connect with the spider, then boy, do I have the sci-fi book recommendation for you. Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time. I knew you would know it. I knew you would know it. Yes, you were waiting for it, weren't you? Children of Time tells the story of a terraformed planet and a scientist's attempt to create humans in her own image by administering a virus to primates that would jumpstart their evolution. Science magic, don't worry about it. However, something goes wrong, and the spiders, instead of the primates, receive the virus. And over the millennia, the spiders evolve into a fully sentient, technologically advanced, and culturally complex society of their own. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, a ship containing the last human survivors of a now inhospitable Earth journeys across the cosmos, looking for a new home, only to discover that the only hospitable planet in their reach is now full of these giant, hyper-intelligent spiders. Uh-oh. To survive, the humans and the spiders must learn to coexist. And what I love about this book is that the spiders are not human-like spiders. They're just spiders. They don't speak verbally. There's no human traits put upon them, but their language is contained in the complex tapping of their legs and how that tapping is received on the vibrations of their hair. In fact, because of this, the humans don't even realize that the spiders are intelligent or capable of language at first because they have no way of communicating with each other. Yet, just like Moscap and Dex, our monk and robot friends, the humans and spiders learn to be in relationship with each other while working around and honoring their deep and fundamental differences. And there's some other details along the way because it's a very thick book. You see, just like how I am unlearning the fear of spiders my mother taught me, we all need to unlearn the harmful ways of being we've inherited from our culture of humanity. Science fiction invites us to challenge these assumptions with a presentation of the fantastical and underlying a hope, dare I say maybe even a prayer, that some of those fictional elements may one day be true. Science fiction, I believe, is not just escapism or even a curious thought experiment. Science fiction, I believe, gives us a blueprint of the world that can be and shows us what it takes to get there. Radical interdependence and interrelationship, seemingly impossible courage, and a commitment to deep mutuality, no matter the cost. Many people, upon seeing the horrors of rising fascism, have rightly said no to the state of the world. No, this is not what we want. But my friends, saying no is only the very first step. After we say no, we must say yes to something new. And in order to say yes, we have to know what we are saying yes to. We cannot just say that we don't want the world to be X, Y, or Z, but we need to say what kind of world we want to live in. We need to know what a liberated future for all beings looks like. And we need to know what it smells like. And we need to know what it tastes like. That's why, if y'all will let me be Christian for 2 whole seconds here, that's why the psalmist says, not that we know that the Lord is good, but that we have to taste and see that the Lord is good. That's why the book of Revelation doesn't just say that God will deliver us from the horrors and the evils of empire and create a new world, but it describes what the new kingdom of God on heaven on earth will actually be like. Excuse me. How the new city will be centered around the tree of life with rivers flowing through it, signifying that humanity's new society is centered around nature and the earth, how the colors will be bright and infinite and never ending, how the streets will be filled with song. My friends, the point I'm trying to make is that our imagination is a necessary and crucial component to our liberation. Because if we can truly picture what the possibilities of tomorrow may bring, then we'll know it's worth fighting for. And we'll know it's worth fighting for even if it takes us generations and generations to get there, because we've tasted of it today. Science fiction, when done well, helps us to imagine this future and encourages us to act to make it a reality. Scholar Victoria Lorimar, whose article I used as a resource for this sermon, said we are responsible to act as well as to imagine. And we do both out of hope. Hope. And my friends, we can have hope. Because as Expedition 33 reminds us, tomorrow comes. Tomorrow comes. And in the face of this tomorrow, may we choose to build something better than the today we have inherited, for the good of our world and all life in it. For if we can dream it, if we can imagine what it feels like and looks like and smells like and tastes like and sounds like, then we can build it together. So in the face of this great tomorrow, full of infinite wonder and possibility, may we say amen and amen and amen, and may it be so. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. May that be so. we're going to extinguish our chalice now, and then I invite you all, I've got some announcements after that. Together, let us extinguish. This chalice stands for us. Though we extinguish its light here, the flame lives always within us, marking our desire for enlightenment, constantly curious, uplifted by love, beckoning others to rely on us, sharing the light within us, may in fairness, respect, and love. May it be so. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, just a few announcements. Obviously, join us in the gallery after the service for coffee and conversation. And then next week's service is Have You Met the Neighbors? And that is going to be led by Reverend Kyle Lovett, who returns to chat with us about her newest endeavor, Pacifica Liaison for the UCC in Hawaii. Our world, it is a changing, and as we look around, we may not recognize our surroundings. In Hawaii, that includes migrants and immigrants on the lowest end of the social ladder. Do we know them? Should we? Is there a connection between the golden rule in all world's religions and our everyday encounters? So come find out next Sunday. And then Gabe Tokianko will be offering ukulele play, sing-along, get-together. And this is not a class to learn how to play the ukulele. It's for folks who already know how to play. It's on Tuesdays and Fridays during the month of August from 1 to 2 at church in the study room. And you can bring your ukulele and songs that you'd like to sing and strum along with. And anybody else who wants to just come and sing, if you don't really have to play, but you want to just sing, you're also welcome. So you can call Gabe or look up on the website to see more about it, but it's on there. And then also there are monthly conversations that are happening that are social justice at heart. They're interfaith conversations on social justice, democracy, and belonging. And the next one is happening Tuesday, August 4th from 6:30 to 8. It's facilitated by our own John Paul Chison Cardenas. And there's more information about it on the website. I think that's it for announcements. And now we will join together and sing our Song of Peace, Hawaii Aloha. And if you want to circle around, hold hands if that's comfortable for you.